The richest place on this planet is not a gold mine. It is not an oil field. It is not a bank vault in Switzerland or a diamond deposit buried beneath the soil of some forgotten continent. The richest place on this earth is the cemetery. And before you shift in your seat or dismiss that statement as morbid, I need you to stay right here with me. Because what I am about to unfold is not for the faint-hearted. It is for the person who has grown tired of wasting. The cemetery is filled with books that were never written, businesses that were never launched, cures that were never discovered, songs that were never recorded, children who were never raised with intention, generations that were never led with vision, all of it buried, all of it silenced before it could speak. And the tragedy is not that those people died. The tragedy is that they died without ever telling themselves the truth. You see, most people start their morning reacting. They wake up and immediately respond to what the world is demanding of them. The alarm sounds and the first thing they reach for is their phone. Not to consult their assignment, but to check what other people have posted, what news has broken, what chaos is circulating. They have handed over the first and most powerful hours of their day to noise, and noise has never produced anything of value. Let me submit to you that the morning is not just a time of day. The morning is a throne room. It is the place where kings make declarations before the kingdom responds. Where you position your mind in the morning determines what direction your entire day will travel. And if you do not speak to yourself first, the world will speak to you, and it will lie. Where purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable. And nowhere is this more visible than in how human beings treat the first hours of their waking life. They abuse the morning. They squander it. They stumble into it without intention, without declaration, without alignment. And then they wonder why their days feel aimless. Their weeks feel repetitive. Their years feel borrowed. You don't need motivation. You need revelation. Motivation asks you how you feel. Revelation tells you who you are. Motivation is dependent on your emotional climate. Revelation is independent of it. You can feel absolutely nothing in the morning and still speak correctly into your day. Because truth does not require your feelings to cooperate. It only requires your obedience. So what I want to establish before we go any further is this. The 5 things I am about to give you are not affirmations in the popular sense. They are not positive thinking exercises. They are not psychological tricks designed to make you feel better about a life you have not yet decided to change. These are kingdom declarations. They are alignment statements. They are the language of a person who understands their design, their manufacturer, and their assignment on this earth. They are what a pilot says before he takes off. Not because he is trying to convince himself the plane will fly, but because the instruments confirm the aircraft is ready. He speaks to confirm, not to convince. And that is exactly the posture you must bring to your morning. Now let me show you what happens when a product does not know what it was made for. There is a manufacturing principle that says a product without knowledge of its purpose will always be misused. Take something as simple as a screwdriver. If you do not know what a screwdriver was designed for, you might use it to pry open a tin, to scratch a surface, to prop open a window. And it will function barely in those roles, but it will never reach its full capacity. It will never operate in the excellence it was built for, because it is being used by someone who does not understand its design. Now apply that same principle to a human life, and the picture becomes devastating. Millions of people walking around functioning, but not fulfilling, active, but not aligned, busy, but not purposeful. And it all begins with what they tell themselves in the morning. The first thing you must tell yourself every morning is this: I was manufactured for a specific purpose, and today I will function according to my design. This is not arrogance, this is accuracy. There is a difference between a person who says they are important because they feel important, and a person who says they are purposeful because their manufacturer declared it before they were born. One is ego, the other is alignment. You were not an accident of biology. You were not a random collection of traits assembled by chance. The manufacturer never makes accidents. Every product that comes off the line has a specification sheet, has an intended function, has a context in which it was designed to operate at maximum efficiency. You are that product, and the specification sheet for your life exists. It predates your birth. It was written before your parents made a single decision that led to your conception. You carry within you a blueprint that no other human being on this earth was given, and your assignment is to discover it and operate according to it. Let me give you a teaching story. There is a bird called the albatross, and on land, it is the most awkward creature you will ever observe. It stumbles. It struggles to take off. It appears clumsy, ungraceful, almost pitiful. And if you were to judge the albatross by its performance on land, you would conclude it was a failed design. But the moment that bird hits open ocean wind, the moment it spreads those enormous wings over the thermal currents above the sea, something entirely different happens. It becomes one of the most graceful and efficient flyers in the natural world, capable of traveling thousands of miles without landing. Why? Because it found the environment that matched its design. The albatross was never broken on land. It was simply out of its element. And I need you to understand. Some of the people who have spent years feeling like failures were not failing. They were flying over the wrong territory. They were trying to perform in environments that were never built for their design. The first declaration of your morning must anchor you back to your design, not your current context. The second thing you must tell yourself every morning is this: my assignment is greater than my feelings, and I will not let emotion be the deciding officer of my obedience. This is where most people collapse. Not at the level of vision, they have vision. Not at the level of desire, they have desire. They collapse at the intersection of emotion and obedience. They wake up and they do not feel like pursuing the thing they said they would pursue. They do not feel worthy. They do not feel ready. They do not feel inspired. And because feeling has been elevated to the rank of commander, it overrules the assignment. Let me submit to you that the most productive people who have ever walked this earth were not the most emotionally stable people. They were the most disciplined people. Discipline is not the absence of feeling. Discipline is the decision to act in spite of what you feel. A surgeon who walks into an operating room does not ask himself whether he feels like saving a life today. His assignment is not subject to his mood. He walks in because the patient is on the table, because training prepared him, because the moment demands his presence regardless of his emotional temperature. You have a patient on the table every morning, and that patient is your destiny. The reason emotion must not be allowed to govern obedience is rooted in the nature of assignment itself. An assignment is not given to you because it will be comfortable. An assignment is given to you because it requires your specific capacity, and your specific capacity was built for resistance, not for ease. The blueprint of purpose was designed with difficulty embedded into it, not as punishment, but as the mechanism by which the product is tested, refined, and proven. A diamond is not found polished. It is found under pressure, and the pressure is not the enemy of the diamond. It is the process by which the diamond is revealed. Your feelings during that pressure are real, but they are not reliable guides. They are indicators, not navigators. Tell yourself every morning, today I will act according to my assignment, not according to my atmosphere. The third thing you must tell yourself every morning is this: I am not behind. I am exactly where my process requires me to be. Now this one requires courage to receive, because the culture we live in is obsessed with speed, with early success, with visible achievement by a certain age, with comparison timelines that were never written for your life. People are destroying themselves spiritually and psychologically because they are measuring their chapter 3 against someone else's chapter 20 and concluding that they are failing. Let me correct that understanding now. There is no such thing as behind in the economy of purpose. There is only premature, and there is prepared and premature function. However impressive it appears on the surface, always leads to collapse because the foundation was not ready to hold the weight of the assignment. Let me give you a second teaching story. Consider the gestation period of different animals. A dog is pregnant for roughly 60 days. A horse for approximately 340 days. An elephant for nearly 700 days. Now here is the principle. The longer the gestation, the greater the capacity of what is being formed. The elephant is not slow. The elephant is being built for magnitude. And if you interrupted the elephant's gestation at 100 days because the dog beside her had already delivered, you would not produce an elephant ahead of schedule. You would produce something incomplete, something unable to survive the weight of what it was designed to carry. Your gestation is not a punishment. It is a preparation. It is the manufacturer ensuring the internal architecture is built to support the external assignment. Stop comparing your gestation to someone else's delivery. Tell yourself every morning, I am not behind. My foundation is being laid, and what takes longer to build takes longer to collapse. The fourth thing you must tell yourself every morning is this: I will protect my mind today because my mind is the gate of my world. This is a principle of dominion. Everything you will ever produce in the physical world first exists in the invisible world of thought. The architect does not begin with bricks. He begins with a blueprint in his mind. The manufacturer does not begin with the product. He begins with the concept. Every structure, every system, every institution that has ever shaped civilization was first a thought in the mind of a human being who chose to protect that thought long enough to give it form. The mind is not just where you think. The mind is where you create. It is the laboratory of your assignment. It is the headquarters of your dominion. And the enemy of your mind is not primarily external pressure. The enemy of your mind is the content you voluntarily allow to occupy it. If you begin every morning by allowing other people's opinions to take up residence in your thinking, you have surrendered your headquarters before the day has even begun. If the first thing you consume is chaos, fear, comparison, and distraction, you have contaminated the laboratory before the experiment starts. And the results for the rest of the day will reflect that contamination. You will make decisions from a place of anxiety rather than clarity. You will respond to people from a place of insecurity rather than identity. You will approach your assignment from a place of confusion rather than conviction. The gate of the mind must be guarded, not occasionally, not when you feel like it, but deliberately, consistently, and especially in the morning, when the mind is most impressionable, most receptive, most open to receive what is placed before it. Let me submit to you that what you consume first in the morning is what you will think through for the rest of the day. And what you think through for the rest of the day is what you will create by the end of the week. And what you create this week builds into what your life becomes this year. Guard the gate. Tell yourself every morning, my mind is my most valuable real estate. And today, I will be very deliberate about what I allow to rent space in it. There is a manufacturing principle that speaks to the importance of the control room. In any large manufacturing facility, there is a central control room from which all operations are monitored and directed. The machines are larger. The output is more visible. But the control room is where everything is actually governed. And the first priority of any saboteur who wants to halt production is not to attack the machines on the floor. It is to compromise the control room. Because if the control room falls, everything falls. Your mind is your control room. And every distraction, every discouraging voice, every toxic relationship, every fear-saturated media intake is an attempt at a control room infiltration. Protect it like your assignment depends on it, because it does. Now let me show you how to apply this with precision. Every morning before you pick up your phone, before you turn on a screen, before you speak to anyone, spend the first 15 to 30 minutes in deliberate thought, in silence, in review of your assignment. Write down one thing you are building, one thing you are correcting, and one thing you are protecting that day. This is not journaling for therapeutic release. This is strategic planning for kingdom deployment. There is a difference. One is about processing how you feel. The other is about confirming what you are building. Both have their place. But in the morning, the builder must take precedence over the processor. Build first, process later. The fifth thing you must tell yourself every morning is this: I carry something the world needs, and I will not leave today without releasing it. This is the declaration of a person who has moved from consumer to contributor, from spectator to manufacturer, from passenger to navigator. Most people go through their days asking what the world can give to them, what they can get from this interaction, what this opportunity can produce for their comfort. And there is nothing inherently wrong with receiving. But a person who only receives and never releases, a person who only takes and never contributes, is violating their design. You were not designed only for intake. You were designed for output. Every system in creation is built on this principle. The tree takes in carbon dioxide and releases oxygen. The cloud takes in moisture and releases rain. The soil takes in seed and releases harvest. Everything that functions correctly in creation takes in and gives out. Everything that only accumulates and never releases stagnates, decays, and eventually becomes a source of contamination rather than life. You carry something that the world is waiting for. And I do not mean this in a vague, sentimental sense. I mean it in the most precise and practical terms possible. There is a problem somewhere on this earth that was designed to be solved by the specific combination of gifts, experiences, insights, and capacity that exists inside of you. There is a person somewhere who will not receive what they need until you release what you carry. There is a generation somewhere that is waiting for the book you have not written, the business you have not built, the conversation you have not initiated, the leadership you have not stepped into. And every morning that you wake up and do not declare your intention to releases, that is another morning that what the world needs stays locked inside a person who has convinced themselves that they are not enough. Let me give you a third teaching story. In agriculture, there is a practice called seed burial. The farmer takes the most valuable thing he possesses, the seed, and instead of placing it on a shelf for display, he buries it. He covers it with soil. He places it in the dark, and he waits. To the uninformed observer, it looks like loss. It looks like burial. It looks like the end of the seed story. But the farmer knows something the observer does not know. He knows that the burial is not the end of the seed. It is the beginning of the harvest. The seed must give up its shell. It must die to its current form in order to become what it was always meant to be. The grain that you were must die, so that the field that you are becoming can live. What you have been holding on to for protection may be the very thing that must be released in order to multiply. Tell yourself every morning, I was not designed to hoard what I carry. I was designed to release it into the ground of this world and trust the harvest will come. Now, I need to interrupt this flow for a moment because there is something that must be addressed directly. And I will not move past it until it is settled. Time is the one resource that does not discriminate. It does not favor the wealthy over the poor, the educated over the uneducated, the connected over the isolated. Every human being on this earth receives the same 24 hours. The billionaire and the person living in poverty wake up to the same clock. The difference is never the amount of time available. The difference is always the quality of the assignment applied to the time that is available. And what governs the quality of that assignment is what you tell yourself in the morning. You are not young enough for this to not matter yet. You are not old enough for this to have passed you by. The only version of you that cannot change course is the version of you that is no longer breathing. As long as there is breath in your body, there is mandate in your assignment. As long as your eyes open in the morning, there is work that has your name on it. As long as your hands are capable of moving, there is creation waiting to emerge from them. The question is never whether it is too late. The question is always whether you are willing. Willingness is not a feeling. Willingness is a decision. And decisions can be made in a moment. The moment is now. Now let me show you how to apply these 5 morning declarations with a structure that will hold you accountable to your own design. The first declaration must be spoken aloud, not thought silently. There is a distinction between thinking a truth and speaking a truth. And the distinction matters because of what sound does in the world. Sound is the mechanism by which things become real in the physical dimension. Before any structure exists in the material world, it was spoken into the world of planning, of communication, of instruction. Speak your declaration of purpose aloud every single morning, not as a shout, not as a performance, as a confident, calm, clear statement of alignment. Say it like a king reviewing his territory, not like a person begging for permission. The second declaration requires a mirror moment, not for vanity, for identity. Look at yourself and speak the declaration about your feelings and your assignment. There is a psychological principle that says the human brain responds differently to declarations made while making eye contact with oneself. The brain registers it as a command from a trusted authority. When you look into your own eyes and tell yourself that your assignment is greater than your feelings today, you are programming the control room before the day's input begins. You are setting the frequency before the noise of the world tries to tune you to its channel. Do this for 60 seconds. 60 seconds every morning is enough to recalibrate the entire emotional posture of your day. For the third declaration about process and timing, keep a written record. A simple document or journal where you track what you are building, not the emotional fluctuations, not the comparison moments, the building. Where were you with this assignment 3 months ago? Where are you now? What has been added? What has been refined? What has been corrected? The evidence of your process is the antidote to the feeling that you are behind. When you can see progress on paper, it becomes impossible to maintain the lie that nothing is happening. Progress documented is encouragement institutionalized. You are not building for applause. You are building for legacy. But evidence helps you stay consistent between the seasons of visibility. For the fourth declaration about protecting your mind, create what I will call a morning gate protocol. Before any screen, before any conversation, before any intake of external information. Give your mind 30 minutes of intentional, curated, purposeful input. Whether that is deep reading in your field of assignment, whether that is quiet reflection, whether that is working on the manuscript or the business plan or the design that you carry, give the first 30 minutes of your cognitive capacity to your assignment before the world makes its demands. And if you believe that 30 minutes is too much, I want you to examine that belief carefully, because it will tell you everything you need to know about whether you actually believe your assignment is important. For the fifth declaration about releases, end each morning routine with one concrete act of contribution, however small. Before you leave your home, send the message you have been putting off. Make the note in the file. Record the idea. Commit the plan to paper. Make a deposit into your assignment every single morning. Not a withdrawal from your comfort, a deposit. Because what you do consistently becomes what you do permanently. And what you do permanently becomes who you are. And who you are becomes what the world receives from you, or what the world is denied because of you. Let me now speak to the architecture of failure, because it is important to understand what happens when these 5 declarations are absent from a morning. When you do not declare your purpose first thing in the morning, you enter the day as a commodity rather than a king. A commodity responds to demand. A king sets the agenda. When you allow your feelings to govern your obedience to your assignment, you produce inconsistent output from a consistent gift. The gift does not fluctuate. The obedience does. And inconsistent obedience produces inconsistent results, which produces the very discouragement that justifies the inconsistency. It is a cycle, and it is self-reinforcing. When you accept the lie that you are behind, you produce a paralysis that looks like patience, but is actually fear wearing the costume of wisdom. Patience is active. It is building in a season of concealment. Fear is passive. It is waiting for conditions to become comfortable before committing to the work. These two look the same from the outside, but they produce entirely different outcomes over time. When you abandon the gate of your mind every morning, you spend the rest of the day cleaning up contamination that should never have been allowed in. You make reactive decisions. You operate from an emotional deficit. You bring yesterday's unprocessed pain into today's responsibility. And you penalize the people and the assignments in front of you for wounds that were inflicted somewhere behind you. Guard the gate. It is not optional. And when you go through a day without releasing what you carry, you accumulate an internal pressure that the human system was not designed to sustain. You were built for output. A factory that produces but never ships will eventually run out of space. And when space runs out, production stops. Release is not generosity alone. Release is maintenance. It is the mechanism by which you stay functional. I want to speak now to the person who has been waking up for years in survival mode. The person who opens their eyes in the morning and the first feeling is dread, is weight, is the accumulation of everything that has gone wrong, everything that was lost, everything that has not yet been recovered. I want to speak to you directly, not with sympathy that diminishes your capacity, but with the firm voice of a mentor who refuses to let you settle for a fraction of what you were built to carry. Your pain is real. I am not dismissing it, but your pain is not your identity. Your wounds are not your assignment. Your losses are not your destination. The suffering you have walked through was never designed to stop you. It was designed to inform you, to build in you a depth of understanding that cannot be manufactured in the classroom or the boardroom. It can only be developed in the furnace. And the furnace is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of your authority. A person who has walked through fire and survived it carries something that a person who has only observed fire from a distance cannot carry. They carry the credibility of the process. They carry the testimony of the furnace. They carry a proof of principle that no degree and no title and no inherited privilege can manufacture. Your suffering, properly interpreted, is not a liability. It is an asset in the economy of assignment. But it only becomes an asset when you stop asking why it happened and start asking what it produced in you that the world now needs. The shift from why to what is the shift from victim to vision carrier. Make the shift. Make it every morning. Declare it with your voice. You don't need motivation. You need revelation. And the revelation is this: you were not placed on this earth to survive it. You were placed here to govern it, to shape it, to contribute to it in a way that only your specific design can contribute. And every morning that you wake up is another day that the manufacturer has confirmed your assignment is not complete. The fact of your breath is the evidence of your mandate. The continuation of your life is the manufacturer's declaration that there is still work with your name on it, still territory to be claimed, still contribution to be released. Still legacy to be built. So you will wake up tomorrow morning and the morning after that and every morning that follows. And before the world makes a single demand of you, you will speak first. You will tell yourself, I was manufactured for a specific purpose and today I will function according to my design. You will tell yourself, my assignment is greater than my feelings and I will not let emotion be the deciding officer of my obedience. You will tell yourself, I am not behind. I am exactly where my process requires me to be. You will tell yourself, I will protect my mind today because my mind is the gate of my world. And you will tell yourself, I carry something the world needs and I will not leave today without releasing it. These 5 declarations are not a formula, they are a frequency. They are the sound of a person who has understood their design and chosen to operate within it. Regardless of the atmosphere, regardless of the applause, regardless of the timeline, regardless of the comparison, you are not building to be seen. You are building to be faithful to the assignment entrusted to you. And faithfulness to assignment is the highest form of living available to a human being. The graveyard is full. Let me say that again. The graveyard is full and it is getting fuller by the day. Not with people who lack talent. Not with people who lacked intelligence. Not with people who lacked opportunity. It is full of people who were never told or never chose to believe that the first words of the morning belonged to them. That the first declaration of the day was their right, their responsibility, their act of dominion. They handed the morning over. And in handing the morning over, they handed the day over. And in handing the days over, they handed the years over. And by the time they were at the end of the road, everything they were supposed to release was still locked inside them. Do not let that be your story. You have a voice. Use it on yourself first. You have a mind. Govern it like it is headquarters. You have an assignment. Treat it like the non-negotiable mandate that it is. You have time. Steward it like the irreplaceable resource it is. You have gifts. Deploy them like someone who knows that the world is waiting for what you carry. Be original, not a copy. The world does not need your version of someone else. It needs the full, uncompromised, fully developed version of you. The version that woke up this morning and spoke the truth over its own life before the noise could lie to it, that version is who you are becoming. That version is who you have always been designed to be. Now go and become it. Die empty. Leave nothing locked inside. Leave nothing unbuilt. Leave nothing unspoken. Leave nothing uncontributed. The world has suffered long enough from your silence. The time is now.